Hey friends, Corey Stark here, just sending out another video on false assumptions of the end times, preparation for this new course that we're going to be launching called The Revelation of Jesus Christ, the Fifth Gospel Unveiled. Super excited about this new course. We're going to have more information coming soon about how you can sign up for this course absolutely free. But today, I want to talk about false assumption number 4, that we can never know the day or the hour of Jesus' return. Now, we're all familiar with that phrase, we'll never know the day or the hour. And while many people use that as an argument and an excuse to never even attempt to know the day or the hour of his return, I look at it more like an invitation than as a license for excuse. Now, consider the fact that while we may not know the exact day or the hour now, we will all know the exact day and hour of his return when we see him coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. So while it may not be true today, it will be true then, because everyone is going to know the day and the hour of his return. But is it possible to know the day or the hour prior to his coming? Especially considering that Jesus himself said no one's going to know the day or the hour, not the angels, not even the Son, but only the Father. Well, I believe that while we may not know the exact day or hour now, we can know, and we're even commanded to know the times and the seasons surrounding the timing of his return. And it's a lot more precise than many even attempt to understand, because they bought into this lie that if we can't know the exact day or the hour, why bother to know anything about it? And I believe that's absolutely the wrong approach, and it's the opposite of what the Lord meant by giving us this unique phrase, knowing the day or the hour. Let's look at 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. Paul says this: "Concerning the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I should write to you, for you yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so comes as a thief in the night. For when they say," the they is the unbelieving nations, "when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. But," verse 4, "you, brethren, you are not in the darkness like they are," the unbelieving nations, "so that this day should overtake you as a thief. You are all sons of light and sons of the day. We are not of the night nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as others do, but let us watch and be sober. For those who sleep, sleep at night, and those who get drunk are drunk at night. But let us who are of the day be sober." Now, Paul's using this common motif of the day of the Lord coming as a thief in the night, because what he's communicating here is that for those who are asleep, their eyes are shut, those who are drunk, they're intoxicated with the things of this world, they're out of touch with God's reality, this day is going to come and overtake them by surprise, and they're going to suffer an unnecessary loss that could have easily been avoided had they been watching and sober. Now, this motif is used by Peter, used by Paul, used by John, and even Jesus himself. And it's an invitation, it's an exhortation, it's even a command to know the timing of the Lord's return. It's not meant to be used as an excuse or an argument for not even attempting to know the timing of the Lord's return. Look at what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 24, verse 42. He says, "Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your Lord is coming." So because you don't know, watch for it. "But know this," he says, "if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into." So it's possible to watch and not allow this to overtake you as a surprise, as a thief in the night, because you're those who are ready, watching, those who are waiting. Now, I find it really interesting in Matthew 24 that Jesus likens the days preceding his return to the days of Noah. He says in Matthew 24, verse 36, "Of that day and hour no man knows," goes on, verse 37, "but as the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood," okay, that's a key phrase, remember that, the days before the flood, "they," again speaking about the unbelieving nations, They were eating, drinking, marrying, giving in marriage until the day Noah entered the ark, and they did not know until the flood came, took them all away. It came as a thief in the night. It overtook them. So also will the coming of the Son of Man be. Now, the reason I find this interesting is because in the days preceding the flood, God gave Noah a 7-day prior warning to the flood coming. Many don't know that. He says in Genesis 7, verse 4, this is the Lord speaking to Noah. He says, for after 7 more days, I will cause it to rain on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Verse 10, and it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were on the earth. So he says, as it was in the days prior to the flood, so will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Well, in the days prior to the flood, Noah, a man who was watching, waiting, was given a warning that in 7 days it's coming. Could it be that those who are watching prior to the coming of the Lord will also have a warning of his return? Time will tell. I want us to also look at Paul here in 1 Corinthians 15. He tells us that the resurrection of the dead, the rapture of the church occur at the last trumpet, which John reveals to us in the book of Revelation is the 7th and the final trumpet. Now, it's a common belief for those who understand the feast of the Lord and their prophetic implications that Jesus' second coming, his return, will occur during the Feast of Trumpets, which is known as a feast occurring on a day and an hour that no man knows. Why? Okay, it's the only feast referred to in this way because it's the only feast that is initiated by the sighting of the new moon by 2 witnesses on the Temple Mount and the verification of the high priest who then announces, blow the trumpet. So this feast, out of all the feasts of the Lord, is the only one that is knit to the lunar calendar. That is, when you see the first sliver of the new moon, that is what initiates this feast of the Lord, known as the Feast of Trumpets, or in Hebrew, it's known as Yom Teruah, the day of blowing or the day of shouting. Why? Because Teruah actually describes either the blowing of a shofar or the shouting of people. And it is the great shout that we see in Joshua chapter 6. So I want us to go back to Joshua chapter 6, and I want you to consider this story, because there's so many prophetic implications to this. So here we have Joshua, who his name is the Hebrew equivalent of the English transliteration Jesus, okay? So in essence, Joshua and Jesus, for all practical purposes, it's the same name, the Hebrew, the English, Joshua, Jesus. We have Joshua encountering the commander of the Lord of armies, who is the pre-incarnate Christ. So here we have Jesus, prior to the incarnation, connecting with his Old Testament counterpart, Joshua, and he's giving him this little B battle plan to take over Jericho, which is a picture of the world system, the kingdoms of the world. And this was the battle plan. Okay, the battle plan was 7 priests having 7 trumpets. We're going to go around the city 7 days. On the 7th day, the 7 priests will blow the 7 trumpets, and they're going to shout with a great shout, Teruah, and the walls of the city will come down, and you're going to take over Jericho. Now, this was the prophetic foreshadow of the future time when Jesus returns at the 7th angel blowing the 7th trumpet, and there's a great shout in heaven, loud voices declaring, the kingdoms of this world have now become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he shall reign forever and forever. So my point is that even as Noah was given this 7-day prior warning to the flood, Joshua was given this 7-day, 7-trumpet prior warning to taking over Jericho as a prophetic foreshadow of the 7th trumpet when Jesus returns. We who are watching, we who are waiting, after we see the 6 trumpets released in the book of Revelation, we know that the next trumpet is the 7th trumpet, and it will happen at any moment. It's when Jesus says, when you see these things happen, lift up your heads because your redemption draw us nigh. That's Luke chapter 21. Because of this, Jesus gives us a command to know the parable of the fig tree out of Mark 13 or Matthew 24. He says it this way. Now, learn this parable from the fig tree. Okay, this isn't a suggestion. This is a command. Learn it. You're going to need to know this, especially those of you in the generation of my return. He says, when its branch has become tender and puts forth its leaves, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see all these things happening, what things? The things that he just laid out. The 6 trumpets, all these things occurring that he talked about. He says, when you see these things, those of you who are watching, the people who know their God, he says, know that it is near. His coming is near. The day of the Lord, it's near. Even at the doors, which is an idiom for it is imminent. It's in a minute. It's right there. It's at hand. He says, but of that day and hour, no one knows. And right now that's true. No one knows. Not even the angels nor the Son, but only the Father. Therefore, he says, in light of that fact, he says, take heed to yourselves, watch soberly, pray continually, for you do not know when the time is. So what I say to you, I say to all, watch. And beloved, while I agree that we may not know the exact day or hour now, we can know, we are commanded to know the times and the seasons surrounding the timing of the Lord, which is a whole lot more precise than many understand, because they've bought into that lie. So don't do it, that because you can't know the exact day or the hour, why even bother to know anything? But let us be those of understanding who are watching and waiting, who take heed, who are praying, who are seeking the scriptures, so that when he comes, he finds us waiting, ready, lamps burning, and we're found faithful at his return. If this video blessed you, I want to encourage you to like it, to share it, to comment. I have a link for the notes in the section below so that you can study this out for yourselves. And we're going to have information coming up very soon on how you can sign up for this brand new course, The Revelation of Jesus Christ, the Fifth Gospel Unveiled. Friends, my prayer for you is that the Father would bless you, that he would keep you, that he would make his glorious face shine down upon you and be gracious to you, that he would lift up his countenance upon you and grant you shalom. Amen.